All right, we're coming on the air tonight with a blow to special counsel Jack Smith and a win for former President Trump. Now that the Supreme Court ruled against Smith's request to fast-track arguments on whether Trump has immunity in his federal election interference case, what it means legally and politically for the former president and the upcoming election. Plus, the holidays are a time to share, and if you're traveling for Christmas, you'll be sharing that experience with millions of others. We're live at the airport and on the roads on one of the busiest travel days of the year. Then, if your trip is only as far as the store, you may be in luck. New numbers show prices dropping for the first time in years. We'll go to the mall to see if it's helping out last-minute holiday shoppers. And a California man finally saved after screaming for help for days. In a narrow tunnel under massive rocks, we're going to show you the dramatic rescue. Plus, Hollywood hoping Santa is ready to give it a few hit movies for Christmas. The big bets they're making on the big stars to try to get people back to the theaters. Hey, I'm Christine. I'm in for Hallie tonight. Some news breaking in just the past couple of hours. The Supreme Court said no thanks to ruling on whether former President Trump has broad immunity for things he did to overturn the 2020 election results. A huge win for him, which means the decision is now up to the U.S. Court of Appeals for the District of Columbia, who's going to start hearing oral arguments on the issue next year, January 9th to be exact. It's a blow to special counsel Jack Smith. He had asked the justices to sidestep the normal appeals court process and fast-track a ruling on Trump's immunity instead. Smith saying the request presented a fundamental question at the heart of our democracy, whether a former president is absolutely immune from federal prosecution for crimes committed while in office. For the former president, this is big. His lawyers have been trying to delay his criminal trial, where he's facing charges of plotting to overturn the 2020 election. Any significant delays could plunge the trial right into the heart of the 2024 election campaign season, or even push past it. And however this plays out in the longer term, right now, all these legal issues are really just helping the former president in the polls. You can see here in this graphic how his polling has gone up when met with any legal problems. We've got Ken Delaney and Danny Savalos here to break it all down for us this evening. Ken, this is something, looks like the Supreme Court just doesn't want to get involved in playing a role, a decisive role in how the 2024 election could play out. And there's also this other case. You've got this ruling, recent ruling from Colorado's Supreme Court as well. But at some point, they're going to have to step in here, right? More likely than not.
They are, Christine, and that's why I think it's too early to say they don't want to get involved. What we can say is they didn't want to fast-track it. They want the appeals court to rule first. They may simply want that so that the appeals court can create a record with case law and legal theories that they can chew on, because only one judge, Tanya Chutkan, has had a chance to rule on this momentous question of whether a president is immune from prosecution for acts committed as president, and then the separate question of whether Donald Trump was actually acting as the president when he was trying to overturn the election. And so the Supreme Court may simply just want more time and want this to go through the normal process. We will find out when after the appeals court hears the arguments and renders a decision, and then that gets appealed, because either side will appeal if they lose. We'll find out then how quickly the Supreme Court takes it up. They could take it up quickly, and it would mean not very much of a delay in the trial, or they could take their time, and it could delay the trial, as you said, into the summer or even past the November election. Yeah, a political season and a legal season for Trump at the same time. You've got the Trump campaign, of course, now trying to fundraise off this news. Let's talk about the timing. What does it mean for Jack Smith's case in a practical sense and for the former president? How much of a delay could we see here? Again, that's up in the air. It could just be a month or 2 months. If a best case scenario for Jack Smith, the appeals court rules quickly, rules in his favor. Donald Trump appeals it to the Supreme Court. They take it up rather quickly and decide fairly quickly. We're talking about a month or two delay. But if the Supreme Court decides to take its time, or if the appeals court doesn't rule as rapidly as we might think they would, it's anybody's bet. And remember, there are two questions here, really. There's the question of, was Donald Trump acting as the president when he called all those local officials and had this campaign of false electors? Because this same appeals court has already ruled in the civil context that he was not acting as the president, and therefore immunity in the civil context didn't apply. If they reach that question and they say, yes, he was acting as the president, then they will have to decide the constitutional question of, can a president be prosecuted for acts committed as president? All right, Ken, thank you so much. I want to bring in now Danny Savalos to talk more about this. Danny, are you surprised by this decision? It's probably going to have to come back to the Supreme Court eventually anyway. And the court, I should say, just gave one short sentence, no reasons why.
Surprised, no, because granting certiorari prior to judgment is an extraordinary remedy. So if you're just playing the odds were that the Supreme Court would deny certiorari. A one-line order is something that we see increasingly from the Supreme Court. We'd like to see more. So we can only speculate as to their reasons. But if you look at the defense argument, it was that, hey, these kinds of very important issues, just because they're important doesn't mean that they have to be done quickly. There is value in going through the normal process. And it could be that the Supreme Court viewed this as a situation where it's more important than ever to let the appeals court decide it and go through the normal process on this arguably most important criminal law issue in American history. But you know what's really interesting is that we're calling this a blow to Jack Smith. I mean, the immunity issue could go either way. It could go for Trump. It could go for Jack Smith. The only reason this is a blow is because it achieves delay for the defense. And delay is not a core issue for the defense. It's the secondary issue that we all know exists, that the defense wants delay. They just can't come out and say it in their papers. What they would like to say in their papers is, hey, can you just delay this as long as possible? We really don't even care about the issue of immunity. They can't say that. So instead, they argue how important it is for a case of this constitutional import to go through the normal processes. And making that argument, whether or not it was persuasive, we'll never really know, because all we have is a single line denying cert.
A single line, no reasons why from the Supreme Court, but a big headline for the rest of us. Danny, thank you so much. Have a great weekend. All right now, millions of Americans on the roads and in the skies today on one of the busiest travel days of the holiday season. Live on the left, that's LAX Airport. More than 2.5 million Americans expected to fly today. And for those driving, you see live on the right an interstate in Orlando, Florida. Traffic moving, but starting to back up a bit. If you plan to hit the roads tomorrow, like I am, well, best of luck. Because tomorrow is going to be the worst day to drive, so plan extra time. Same for the airports, as long lines go on and on and on to get through security. This right there is from Reagan National Airport. Today, flights look relatively good with just over 70 cancellations and 3,200 delays. And fingers crossed the weather holds up, because a storm across the Southwest caused some major flooding in California. You can see people here pushing their car through a flooded road. That mixed with mudslides, making some streets impassable with cars. Look at that. That car is literally stuck in the mud in Santa Barbara. Now, around 25 million people are under flood alerts as the storm moves further into the country. We have team coverage. Kathy Park at Atlanta International Airport, Shaquille Brewster at a rest stop in the Chicago area, and meteorologist Bill Cairns. Kathy, I want to start with you. Atlanta, the busiest airport in the world normally. How are people managing the crowds?
Hey, Christine, good to be with you tonight. Happy holiday. So today is actually the busiest holiday travel day here in ATL. Airport officials tell us they anticipate screening roughly 86,000 passengers today alone. And yeah, it certainly has been busy ever since we got here at 6 o'clock this morning, but I can tell you that it has been pretty manageable. The airport staff, airline staff, they've done a really good job just kind of managing the foot traffic here on the ground. The security checkpoint times have varied throughout the day, but they were anywhere between 5 minutes to 20 minutes. And nationwide, the TSA says that they will actually be screening roughly 2.5 million passengers daily from now until January 2nd. But back here in Atlanta, we were actually talking to some folks earlier in the day about their game plan for their travels. Take a listen.
We got here early because my cousin told us it was like 3.5 hours. We haven't really traveled during the holidays, so I just wanted to be prepared.
It's nice because I'm here early, and so no problem. Pulled up and got out of the car, and no problem.
And Christine, let's take a quick peek at the misery map right now, because the numbers have ticked up throughout the course of the day. Right now, the delays are roughly around 535, 8 cancellations. A lot of the problems right now are centered at LAX, Phoenix, Denver, and San Francisco. So a lot of issues right now on the West Coast. But if you do plan on heading out over the next couple of days, if you do plan on traveling, you do want to arrive at the airport at least 2 hours in advance, especially if you're flying domestically, 3 hours internationally. Also, important to just download the airline app, because you can save a whole lot of time if there are any changes, cancellations, or delays. You can do that right on your phone. Christine?
All right. Thank you so much, Kathy. Thanks. A lot of action, a lot of movement over the next day or two. Now let's get to Shaquille Brewster at a rest stop in South Holland, Illinois. Okay, what are the roads like behind you, and what should people keep in mind, Shaquille?
Hi there. Well, look, things are definitely slowing down. You might see it behind me in the shot behind me. You see, it is raining a little bit here in Chicago. That could contribute to what we're seeing, but really it's about the rush. Illinois tollway officials are saying that today is the heaviest day of traffic that they're expecting, at least remaining in this holiday season. And this is a preview of what the rest of the country is likely to see. AAA saying that during the holiday season, more than 100 or nearly 104 million Americans will take to the roads to get to and from their holiday destinations. That's slightly up from what we saw last year, though it's below the pre-pandemic levels. I want you to listen to a little bit of what AAA is suggesting for those going on those holiday road trips.
Get an early start on the road. And then while you're driving, don't try and bomb all the way through in one, just I got to get there, and not take breaks. Try and take a break about every 2 hours. Stop the car, stretch, clear that road fog, because it's so easy to kind of zone out.
And one thing that we're seeing this year, of course, is the focus on gas prices. They are about the same as they were at this point last year, but notably less than what we saw earlier this year. The national average about $3.12 a gallon. But you see on that map that's on your screen right now, it can vary depending on where you get that gas. You see the South is definitely cheaper than what you see out west, Christine.
Check Andrew Gross. That advice is exactly for me. We just go straight. We just go. And I think in 24 hours, I hope to be cruising right behind where you are right now on my way to Iowa. So thank you for that report. Nice
Come
to
say
see.
hi.
I will. I will. All right, and now to meteorologist Bill Cairns. How concerned should we be about that storm out west and where it's heading, Bill?
As far as damage and like mudslides, debris flows, those concerns are dwindling. Flood watchers are going to be dropped here shortly around Santa Barbara and the Los Angeles area. But hey, we showed you the pictures earlier with like the lines outside of LAX, plus the worst delays are at LAX. And that's all because of the storm that's lingered here for the last 3 days in a row. And around Los Angeles, we've only had hit and miss showers, little lone thunderstorm earlier today. All of the really heavy rains are now pushing into Arizona. The desert areas, too, around Yuma. Phoenix getting a little bit of a break after rain earlier. Tucson, it's been raining on and off pretty hard all day. So as far as flood watches go, we still got 25 million, but we're going to knock this number down a lot in the next 3 hours when Los Angeles drops out of it. And then we'll just mostly be focusing on Arizona tonight and into tomorrow. So here's how we play it out. This is 8 p.m. this evening. Mostly all the rain is in Arizona. A little bit of snow at the high elevations in the White Mountains and also around Flagstaff up on the Bowl, if you've ever been up there. And then as we head into Saturday, the storm goes into the middle of the country. Denver has an interesting forecast. They're going to be rain, then temperatures drop. It changes over to snow, and a couple inches are possible as we go into Christmas Eve morning. And then by the time we get to Christmas Eve evening, that snow pushes out into Nebraska and areas of the Dakotas. So there is a chance, at least for a few spots, to have a white Christmas. So here's the forecast snow. This is all the way through Christmas night. And you notice the blue. That's your best shot of having snow. That's 3 to 6 inches. So Valentine, Nebraska, central Nebraska, Omaha, maybe a little coating. Same with Sioux Falls and up to Fargo. Denver, we mentioned 2 to 4 inches of snow in the forecast for you. But the rest of us, it is just going to be extremely warm and unfortunately very wet roads. Anyone driving through areas in New Mexico, North Texas, Interstate 20, that's going to be very wet as we go throughout tomorrow. And then in the Sunday, we could even deal with flooding in areas of East Texas and Louisiana, Christine. So not a lot of snow out there. And I think the ones that get it may actually enjoy it.
Yeah, all right. Bill Cairns, nice to see you. Thank you so much. All right, the United Nations Security Council just passed a long-delayed vote urging for desperately needed aid to get into Gaza as the situation there grows more dire. 90% of the people eating less than one meal a day, 90% eating less than a meal a day, and many going without any drinkable water. Listen.
There is, a personal catastrophe and there's a collective catastrophe here in Gaza. You have a population that they lost everything.
So right now, it's just not clear when or if conditions will change as any actual deal to get a ceasefire in Gaza and more hostages released appears out of reach tonight, with Hamas reportedly rejecting a proposed truce from Israel that would have secured the release of 40 hostages in exchange for a one-week pause in fighting, indicating they won't engage in any more negotiations until Israel pauses its attacks. Let's bring in Josh Litterman in Tel Aviv. Josh, talk about the vote from the UN Security Council today, and importantly, what it does and doesn't mean for the people of Gaza.
Well, it's significant that for the first time, really, since this war started, the UN Security Council has been able to speak with one voice on this crisis. But at the end of the day, Security Council resolutions are largely just words on a page, right? I mean, if you're a civilian Palestinian in the Gaza Strip, nothing changes in your life tomorrow magically because the UN Security Council in New York cast a vote today. It does add pressure on Israel to allow more humanitarian aid into the Gaza Strip, and in particular to allow the United Nations to play a larger role in coordinating and facilitating the network of aid that is going to be going into Gaza. The UN ambassador from the United States, Linda Thomas-Greenfield, she says this is not a perfect resolution, but it is a positive step. Watch.
Lots of phone calls, lots of text messages. My fingertips are tender from texting over the course of these few days. And as I always say, diplomacy is hard. But when you get the results are worth every minute of the hard work.
Now, the United States was disappointed that this resolution did not include a condemnation of Hamas for the October 7th atrocities. And that is something we're also hearing here in Israel from Israeli officials. They feel that this fell far short because it did not condemn Hamas. They say the focus should have been much more squarely on those hostages who remain in the Gaza Strip, Christine.
You know, and Josh, we're hearing now from the World Food Program chief who said no one is safe from starvation in Gaza. What more can you tell us about the conditions inside?
Well, the numbers speak for themselves. The World Food Program, which is part of the United Nations, said in a report this week that 9 in 10 Gazans have had to go 24-hour periods with no food at all. 1 in 4 face the risk of extreme hunger. And so there is a real risk, humanitarian officials say, of famine taking hold in the Gaza Strip, even as we did hear that Israeli official today insist that there are sufficient food stores in Gaza right now and no food crisis taking place there.
Pictures tell a different story, right? All right, Josh Letterman, thank you so much. Nice to see you.
Absolutely.
A fresh batch of economic numbers today showing prices dropping for the first time since April 2020, a sign the Fed might be winning its fight against inflation. It's called the Personal Consumption Expenditures Price Index. Got that? The PCE. It's a major reading on inflation, and it dropped slightly, 0.01% last month. Now, that's a little drop, but it is big news because it brings the annual inflation rate closer to the Fed's goal of 2%, and it means the economy is heading into next year on strong footing. Brian Chung joining me now. Let's talk about this number. Why are prices falling, and what does it mean for consumers?
Yeah, and by the way, for those that are wondering, I thought we just got an inflation reading. Well, that was from another reading, which is the Consumer Price Index.
This is the one the Fed likes.
Exactly, Christine. This is the one that actually matters, right? This is the one that Federal Reserve prefers. This report showed that things like goods, both durable and non-durable goods, fell in prices, in addition to gasoline prices. That was a big contributor to why the print on the monthly basis between October and November was negative. But by the way, we're also seeing food prices in this particular report going down by 0.1%. So you're seeing it broad-based. But again, 0.1% is still relatively small in the scale of things.
So we heard from the Fed chief and the Fed, in recent days that maybe next year we'd be talking about lower interest rates. Does this number feed into that narrative that the Fed can stop all this rate hiking and start talking about cutting rates?
Well, from the economists that I've heard from today, it's a little bit too soon to tell. And that's okay because the Federal Reserve is going to get more data before they get to their January meeting and then to that March meeting where you have some market strategists saying could be the first rate cut in this cycle. But for what it's worth, the Federal Reserve is looking at the overall picture and probably encouraged by the fact that, OK, we don't want deflation. By the way, we don't want to see monthly reports that are showing negative prints. That's also bad. But to see it not going up in the opposite direction is a fear that the Federal Reserve had earlier this year, not seeing it in the reports so far. So again, we're not out of the woods yet, but it is certainly encouraging because the inflation's going down. Right. At some point, maybe they can then cut rates as well.
And we can rattle off a whole bunch of economic statistics that have been pretty good lately, right? But there's been what I've been calling the sourpuss economy, where people are like, nah, I don't believe it. I don't feel like the economic news are so good. And I talked to Neela Richardson of ADP, a really just an acclaimed economist, about this disconnect between what people think and what the numbers tell us. Listen.
A lot of it is inflation. A lot of it is just uncertainty about this economy. Remember, people don't have short memories. They remember losing their jobs in 2020. They remember how hard it was to find new ground. And I think a lot of the disconnect here between the consumer and the economy has to do with demographics.
Demographics, particularly, she says, among young people who, with high interest rates and with high inflation, they're not buying their first home. They can't get into the housing market. They've got credit card debt that's too high, and they've got student loans that are coming back. So there's a demographic problem here, too. What do you make of it?
Yeah, well, and again, I mean, homeownership is the American dream, and it feels so out of reach for a lot of Americans. I think that's part of the story there. But also, I mean, Neela was talking about people not forgetting the pandemic. People also didn't forget when prices went up.
Right.
At the peak of last year. I mean, they didn't know maybe it was 9.1%, but they felt it at the store across the board. You don't forget that in a few months. You don't even forget that in a year. But what's the bigger story here is that as of late, and this only happened as of about 6 months ago, real wages outpacing inflation. It's going to take time for people to recognize
And that's what the White House was touting. The president today touting the fact that wages are outpacing inflation. It might take time. And, you know, I think the scar on the national psyche, the national mood is fragile because of inflation. And my grocery bill today is higher than it was 3 years ago. It just is.
And that scar takes time to heal.
Exactly. All right. Nice to see you, Brian. Thank you. All right. If you haven't finished your Christmas shopping, don't worry. You've got, just about 2 days left. Just be ready to fight some crowds, because the National Retail Federation says nearly 142 million people plan to shop tomorrow. That's the last Saturday before Christmas. Retailers call it Super Saturday. 37% of shoppers say they'll go to stores tomorrow. 22% say they'll shop exclusively online. 41% say they'll do both. Marissa Parra is joining us now. What's it like out there at the mall? How are the crowds, the lines, and the mood, I guess, Marissa?
Hey. I can tell you, if tomorrow is Super Saturday, well, then this is the fun Friday before the Super Saturday, because we're still seeing a lot of crowds out here. In fact, we know that over here at the shops at Merrick Park, the parking garages here have been full, if not almost full, the entire day. And so I think that's a testament to just how busy it's been, people getting their last-minute shopping. And I've been anecdotally talking to people, all of them saying what the polls and the surveys are also showing, which is more than half of the people out there wait until the last second. And by last second, we mean December, to do their holiday shopping. And of those people, this is pretty interesting, the majority of those people, just over 50%, say that they prefer to do retail shopping in person, brick and mortar. And here's the kicker. The majority of those people are Gen Z. And so we spoke to a shopping expert on why we're seeing that trend that might surprise a few folks. And what she said is it comes down to they want to take a break from virtual stuff. Take a listen.
Younger consumers often want experiences versus things. You know, a lot of younger consumers are still living at home. They don't have room for all sorts of stuff. And so they want to do things with their friends and family. They want to spend time. They want to take pictures and note those moments.
And Christine, my friends and family would like to thank you and the Hallie Jackson Show, because by putting me on this assignment, I too am able to get the Christmas gifts for my friends and family.
Fantastic. That's synergy. We like synergy. Okay, so what kind of deals are people going to be able to get on Super Saturday, Marissa?
I can talk to you about deals, and I can talk to you about the things that might be a little bit more expensive, but might help you get those last-minute gifts. So if you're looking for a deal, your best bet is going to be appliances, toys, electronics. Now, if you are looking to get something outside of those categories, I mean, you have so many options. One, shop secondhand. Those are things that people don't typically think about. You also have options like in-stock. You can get free rush shipping, virtual gifts like subscriptions. When you have gift cards, I know people a lot of times overlook that sort of option, but that's something that is definitely going to get used. And then finally, Uber recently launched a same-day store pickup feature available. Christine, though, before you or anyone else rushes to go and use that, just remember it's only in select cities. But hey, if it becomes popular enough, it will expand, and maybe you can try it next holiday season.
All
Christine?
Right. Fantastic report. You've got 59 minutes, and then you come back again next hour. So go get some shopping done. Marissa Parra, thank you so much.
You got it.
See you later. All right, President Biden today announcing he'll pardon thousands more people for certain marijuana offenses. He's building on something he did last year, forgiving thousands of people convicted of federal offenses for simple marijuana possession. He's also giving 11 other people clemency for nonviolent drug offenses, which basically means their sentences will be shortened. You remember, he campaigned on a promise to do just that as part of an effort to fix the racial disparities in the American justice system. The president, in a statement, saying too many lives have been upended because of our failed approach to marijuana. Under federal law, marijuana is still a controlled substance, But a lot of states have already decriminalized it or legalized it outright. The ones you see here on this map in green allow for the recreational and medical use of marijuana. Aaron Gilchrist joins me now. Aaron, so how does this build on the action the president took last year?
Well, Christine, as you noted, this was a proclamation that the president issued last year. And so what we got today was really an expansion of that could potentially affect thousands of people as well. In this instance, we're talking about people who were convicted of use and simple possession or attempted simple possession of marijuana, particularly on federal land and here in the District of Columbia. The president said in a statement that this is really about making equal justice a reality for these people by granting them complete and unconditional pardons for these specific offenses now. And he said that these offenses, these convictions have created barriers for people around employment, around housing, around educational opportunities. And so this particular proclamation for them is an opportunity, he says, for people to have their lives return to some level of normalcy, and they won't be as impacted by this conviction for something that he says is a low-level crime in possession of marijuana. And the president, Christine, is also calling on states, other states and localities to sort of follow his lead and make these convictions go away by way of pardon.
When I read that statement from the president, he called it a failed approach to marijuana. What is the administration doing to address marijuana laws before more people face similar convictions?
Well, as you noted, this is something that the president's been working on since he was running for office, and he and the vice president have been working on this particular issue. So we know that the Department of Health and Human Services earlier this year sent a recommendation to the Drug Enforcement Administration about moving marijuana from Schedule I, from being a Schedule I drug like heroin and like LSD, to making it a Schedule III drug, which would mean that the criminality of it would be significantly less. Of possession, that is, it would be significantly less. We know the DEA now is reviewing that recommendation, and so we could see action taken on this particular issue in the months to come, Christine, and it would be a huge change to drug policy in this country if the DEA were to make that move. Christine?
All right, Aaron, thank you so much. Great reporting. Thanks. Tonight, the FDA saying it has seized thousands of units of counterfeit Ozempic, the diabetes drug widely used for weight loss. But get this, it's not like it's being sold underground on the black market. The FDA says these fakes were distributed through legitimate drug supply sources. And the FDA says that 5 illnesses have been linked to the fake shots they seized. Maura Barrett joins me now with this. These weight loss drugs turning out to be big cash cows, so I guess it's not surprising that we're seeing fake versions coming out. But they come with such a high price tag that they're out of reach for most folks. Is that what the push is for these fake versions?
That's what it seems like, Christine. I spoke with a doctor today who was really surprised and concerned by how quickly these counterfeits are coming onto the market. But as you mentioned, they're extremely expensive. If you take a look at some of the price tags on these FDA-approved drugs, whether it's Ozempic or Wegovy, you're running close to the $1,000 price tag mark. And so the doctor that I spoke to, Dr. Barry Weinstein, she said that basically until insurance providers cover this at a more fair rate, until more drug companies are FDA approved for the semaglutide, which is what the main ingredient in these drugs, they're not going. We likely won't see a reduction in whether it's these counterfeit drugs coming onto the market, or a lot of patients have been turning to different types of pharmacies that aren't FDA approved to get compound versions, which doctors say can be dangerous as well. Christine.
Yeah. What have the FDA drug makers said about the potential dangers here?
Well, we know that the FDA is testing the units of the product that they seized. They said they seized thousands of units that were in the legitimate drug supply chain, as you mentioned, which is the more concerning factor of all of this, I think. But basically, they're testing it. They don't know what's in the drug or the safety necessarily. But obviously, there are serious concerns if people are taking something, A, unknowingly, but also that isn't the drug that they thought that they were purchasing, if it's not that exact recipe. Luckily, right now, in terms of the illnesses that have been reported, the adverse reactions, just 5 of them reported to the FDA, are kind of consistent with the typical side effects of the authorized drug. So nausea, vomiting, kind of along those lines. But basically, the FDA says to check their warning that they sent out if you're someone that's picking up something like Ozempic, to check the serial number and the lot in the FDA warning that they sent out broadly, and to turn that in and to report it to their criminal office within the FDA, Christine.
Yeah, there's a weight loss gold rush going on. And whenever there's a gold rush, there are always those folks who are trying to make a buck illegally. Maura Barrett, thank you so much. Nice to see you. Still ahead, off the mark, colleges across the U.S. pulling the plug on one AI detection tool. We'll tell you why. Plus, rough seas. These massive waves caused a cruise ship to go rogue with hundreds of people on board. All right, how the LA Dodgers lured another international superstar. Hint, lots of dollar signs. That's in the 5 things. But first, just in the last few hours, a man finally pulled to safety after an 18-hour rescue mission. They got him out of a 12-inch wide tunnel under massive rocks along a beach in San Diego. Take a look at this. You can see the rescue crews. They're there on the cliffs above the crashing waves, pulling that man out. Authorities confirming he was conscious through the rescue. They say he told them he had been screaming for help for days. Let's bring in Steve Patterson now. The story, Steve, just incredible. Bring us up to speed. What are the rescue teams saying about what happened here and what made this rescue operation just so challenging?
I mean, amazing story, Christine. We're lucky enough to get maybe one Christmas miracle every year. This is it, I'm telling you. After the guy says he was trapped for 3 days, he fell down 15 feet off this embankment into this, as you mentioned, 12-inch wide hole. Rescue workers working around the clock for nearly 20 hours. They finally dig him out. What was challenging about it? Everything. I mean, let's talk timing. It happens during this storm system that comes into the San Diego area, meaning that the storm surge is literally coming up where he's stuck as rescue workers are trying to dig him out. So they have to wait during the rescue operation for the right time where they can go in, drill around his feet without hurting him. The rescue operation is so difficult, too, because of the incline. So some of the rescue workers have to literally go inverted upside down into the tunnel to try to dig him out. It was just incredible that they were able to do this. Here's now rescue workers describing what they came upon when they got to the scene. Listen to this.
This gentleman's trapped in a very narrow space, about 12 inches wide, between a seawall and the cliff, a piece that's eroded and created his tunnel all the way down. So he's fallen feet first down in there. He was trapped up to his waist in debris and rocks.
And as you mentioned, he was conscious during the rescue, conscious the entire time he was stuck in that little hole talking to workers. So hopefully he'll be just fine.
How terrifying. So do we know how he actually got stuck there in the first place and how long he'd been down there, stuck there exactly before he was spotted by people on the beach?
You know, it's unclear what he was doing to actually fall and get stuck. We know he fell feet first into that hole, and he was telling people that rescued him or heard him screaming for days that it had been about 3 days before somebody finally managed to stumble across him. In fact, we heard from the people that actually discovered him. Here's what they said. Listen to this.
We were kind of walking down that path just to see how far it goes. And our friend Diego was asked, like, our friend Justin was walking by, and then our friend Diego was like, "You guys hear that?" And turns out there was a guy like screaming for help, like 12 feet under us.
I mean, we look around to see if somebody's around us. You know, we're looking up to the side. We never thought there'd be somebody below us, you know.
And again, no, he was conscious the whole time. He was getting an IV. He was getting Gatorade. He was getting water. He was getting blankets. He was conscious. So hopefully the hope is just minor injuries here, and he's able to live a full life after this horrific experience.
Wow, just
Christine?
terrifying. All right. Steve Patterson, thank you so much. Let's get you over to the 5 things our team thinks you should know about tonight. Number 1, a growing memorial in Prague after the shocking shooting that left 14 people dead. Police releasing body cam video showing officers searching the campus of Charles University for that shooter. Authorities have edited the video to blur some parts of it. We're told the shooter was a student. His body was found with multiple firearms and a large amount of ammunition on him. A motive for the attack still unclear. Number 2, new video out of Lewiston, Maine, revealing that police were worried about the man who killed 18 people earlier this year. Police body cam footage shows officers saying that confronting him wasn't safe. Robert Card is blamed for the deadliest mass shooting in Maine's history. Number 3, scary moments on a Norwegian cruise ship. Intense waves rocking it so hard it caused a full loss of power in the North Sea. The crew had to navigate manually through emergency systems. Look at that wave. All 400 people on board are expected to be okay. Number 4, a woman is under arrest accused of assaulting actor Charlie Sheen at his Malibu home. Police say it happened on Wednesday, and Sheen told them she's his neighbor and forced her way into his house NBC has reached out to her family and has not yet heard back. Right, number 5, Japanese baseball star Yoshinobu Yamamoto has agreed to a 12-year, $325 million deal to join the Los Angeles Dodgers. That's according to ESPN and MLB.com. The Dodgers have not yet publicly confirmed it, but it would be the largest and longest deal ever guaranteed to a big league pitcher. All right, universities across the country pulling the plug on using an AI tool on the popular plagiarism detection software Turnitin. That's used by many schools and colleges to basically be able to see if a student's essay is taken from another piece of work. Now that AI software like a ChatGPT can literally write essays for you, the platform earlier this year added a new tool to detect if AI was used. But now, several schools, some of which you see here, have disabled the tool, claiming that it produces a higher false positive rate and disproportionately hurting people who didn't learn English as a first language. I want to bring in NBC's tech correspondent Jacob Wood, who's been covering this topic extensively. So great to see you tonight. This is almost, Jake, starting to sound like maybe we can't keep up with AI. You spoke with the people behind this back when it was starting to get launched. Is this something they were prepared for?
You know, back then, Christine, we were all just scrambling to figure out what ChatGPT was going to mean. And for Turnitin, which has become this standard issue piece of software that basically any university paper goes through when you turn it in, was seeking to catch up with AI. So we spoke to the creators of Turnitin about how they were going to deal with AI writing. And here's how they described it.
When you look at AI, because it's picking the most likely words in a sequence, that leaves a pretty distinct statistical signature. I think the level of sophistication in the writing is definitely going to increase. We think that our ability to keep up with understanding the signals in AI writing, we're very confident in our ability.
Now, they are, of course, scrambling to catch up, but as you pointed out, there are several schools, including New York University, University of Alabama, Oregon State University, have all asked to turn off that AI feature, and that's because the statistics that they are finding on false positives are really not acceptable. We're finding that as much as 1% false positive rate for over 20% AI writing, basically falsely accusing students of doing it. In one case, NYU said that it amounted to basically 1 in 25 students being hit with a charge of plagiarism or using AI when in fact they had not. And that, of course, you know, is the thing that everyone is scrambling to deal with here. Now, I will say Turnitin, when we reached out to them, says that they are in fact working to constantly evolve. They say that at this point, more than 90% of their customers are still using that AI feature. But I mean, all of this is not to beat up on Turnitin, right? It is all about, Christine, this moment we are in which ChatGPT has exploded the processes and the expectations when it comes to education in the United States.
Totally. Okay, now what about the claim that these false positives are seen more in people who are learning English or English isn't their original language? Why, I guess, would that happen?
Well, you know, it has to do, right, with the ways in which a piece of software detects the statistical anomalies in writing, right, overall, and how someone who did not maybe grow up speaking English as their first language might express themselves in writing, you know, can throw that off. Now, Turnitin says that they have not detected themselves any sort of statistically significant number of people who are being spiked in that way, but when we have reached out to universities, they say that they are noticing that is a pattern there. And so, again, it's just this thing in which we don't know quite how to deal with the arrival of AI across college campuses or who it might go on to affect as it becomes more sophisticated, Christine.
Yeah, Wild West, whole new frontier, all kinds of metaphors and bad cliches I could use. Jake, nice to see you. Thank you so much. All right, coming up, African ports overwhelmed and ill-equipped. We'll go inside the unfolding supply chain crisis tied to tensions in the Middle East. Plus, controversial search. Police called into a Massachusetts middle school. Police to a school over a book. What happened next is just ahead in The Local. NBC covers hundreds of stories each day. And because it's tough to read, watch, or listen to all of them, our bureau teams have done it for you. This is what they tell us is going down in their regions in a segment we call The Local. From our Southern Bureau, a suspect is in custody after a shooting at a Virginia hospital. One person was hurt. Richmond police say the suspect was there this morning for a mental health evaluation, and they say they don't have a motive yet. Also from our Southern Bureau, 2 children are dead after a mobile home fire in South Carolina. One was 5, the other was 4. The coroner says they died from smoke inhalation. Officials say the mother and 2 other young children had to be rushed to the hospital for evaluation. And out of our Northeast Bureau, a Massachusetts police officer is apologizing after an officer searched a middle school for the book Gender Queer, a memoir. The book is about gender identity and has been banned in several districts. He tells Boston.com that the officer visited the school after receiving a complaint about concerning illustrations in the book. The chief says they had an obligation to examine that complaint, but apologizes to anyone who was negatively affected. All right, we're just hearing from the White House now, alleging Iran is deeply involved in the Houthi rebels' attacks on cargo ships in the Red Sea. That's according to a national security spokesperson. The comments come as another supply chain crisis could be developing because of that chaos in the Red Sea. It's forcing global shipping companies and major retail brands to reroute their cargo extremely long distances. The price of oil just starting to tick up again, and it could soon hit other American industries, too.
This video shows Yemen's Houthi rebels taking control of cargo ships. The Houthis provided the video and blurred faces, and it all demonstrates how they're disrupting one of the world's busiest shipping lanes in the Red Sea, where thousands of massive cargo ships travel through every year. Signs of a possible regional escalation of the Israel-Hamas conflict, also now affecting the global supply chain. A number of the world's biggest oil and cargo shippers have rerouted hundreds of ships to avoid the violence. The White House saying Friday it's monitoring the situation closely. Instead of a direct route from East Asia to ports in Europe, ships are instead going around the southern tip of Africa, estimated to be an extra 10 to 14 days of travel to avoid the attacks. Ill-equipped ports in Africa already becoming overwhelmed with massive cargo ships stopping along the long route. This according to a Reuters report citing shipping companies and analysts. Maersk, one of the largest shipping companies in the world, telling Reuters its vessels will try to gas up at origins or destinations in Europe or Asia to avoid adding more chaos. And brands like the planet's largest furniture store, IKEA, are warning about delays. Resurgent retailer Abercrombie & Fitch will move some shipping to air, according to an email to suppliers Bloomberg reviewed and reported. NBC has not seen the email, and Abercrombie did not respond to our request for comment. The attacks already leading to a 5% increase in the cost of shipping a container from Asia to the east coast of the U.S. since October 7th, according to logistics company Freightos. And everyone is keeping a close eye on gas prices, just starting to tick back up, as oil giant BP also diverting shipments.
All countries have the right to move freely and lawfully in international waters.
To try to prevent more disruptions, a new international force dubbed Operation Prosperity Guardian, led by the U.S., is shooting down drones and defending cargo ships.
It will be damaging to Britain, damaging to the whole world if there are these repeated attacks on shipping.
The Houthi militant group has backed Hamas since the start of the war with Israel. And for now, with attacks in the Red Sea raging on, questions swirl on just how much the violence in the Red Sea could create more ripple effects around the world.
The National Economic Council Director Lael Brainerd saying today they're monitoring the situation closely, but not expecting the attacks to have a big impact on holiday sales. That's right around the corner. Those products are already in the U.S., but it's definitely something we'll all be watching closely heading into the new year. All right, still ahead, putting on the squeeze, why orange juice prices are sky high no matter where you go in the U.S., the factors adding to your pain over pulp. That's tonight's original. All right. right, now we want to bring you today's original with in-depth reporting on a topic we've been keeping an eye on. Orange juice prices are high, and they're not expected to get much better anytime soon. That's because crops in Florida, the largest orange producer in the U.S., have been hammered by bad weather and citrus crop disease, forcing the price of orange juice to record highs this year. So we spoke to some orange farmers in Florida about the biggest issues squeezing their industry. Sam Brock has the story.
There's nothing better than a freshly squeezed glass of OJ, but it's been pretty pricey to get your hands on America's favorite juice.
I would say nationwide the consumer should be concerned.
The cost of orange juice in the U.S. skyrocketing this year to more than $4 a pound. And while the futures price has come back a little bit, it's still historically high. All of it thanks to Mother Nature. This year's orange crop got hammered by a combination of both disease and bad weather.
Tonight, Florida has been rocked back on its heels.
Towards the end of 2022, Hurricane Ian and Hurricane Nicole ran roughshod through Florida, critical farms flooding and oranges dropping from trees.
Why is your orange juice so expensive? Because we are running out with our #1 quality fruit.
Robert and Lisa Marie Roth own Bob Roth's New River Groves. It's a major citrus grove in Florida that's been squeezing out oranges since 1964. They say their farm is dealing with another sticky situation, the incurable infection of citrus greening spreading rapidly across the orange crop.
The greening will destroy the fruit, destroy the trees. You can't sell the fruit. If they don't find satisfactory remedies to all these diseases, it could possibly go under completely.
Their once flourishing farm has taken a major blow. They say that they've lost about 50% of their orange groves in just the last 15 years.
I've kind of adjusted to the fact that it's going downhill and it's going out.
The business now forced to shift gears, focusing on agritourism and planting things like mango trees. And they're hardly alone. Florida as a whole took a major hit as the biggest supplier of oranges in the country. The forecast for orange production in the state this season more than halved from just 2 seasons ago. That, according to the USDA. And the bottom line, that could mean orange juice will continue to squeeze your wallet.
Every time there's something else that happens in the state of Florida, the prices go up because there's less fruit.
But Lisa Marie trying to see the bright side.
You never know what's going to happen. I'd like to be optimistic about it, that we will get a change in the fruit and that we will have citrus to ship all over the country for our customers.
Sam Brock, NBC News.
All right, we're coming on the air tonight with a blow to special counsel Jack Smith and a win for former President Trump. Now that the Supreme Court ruled against Smith's request to fast-track arguments on whether Trump has immunity in his federal election interference case, what it means legally and politically for the former president and the upcoming election. Plus, the holidays are a time to share. And if you're traveling for Christmas, you will be sharing this experience with millions of others. We're live at the airport and on the roads on one of the busiest travel days of the year. Then, if your trip is only as far as the store, you may be in luck. New numbers show prices dropping for the first time in years. We're going to go to the mall to see if it's helping out last-minute holiday shoppers. Plus, the FDA is seizing a lot of counterfeit versions of Ozempic. That's the hugely popular diabetes drug used for weight loss. We'll tell you the surprising place they're being sold and the potential harm these fake doses can do. And a California man finally saved after screaming for help for days in a narrow tunnel under massive rocks. We're going to show you the dramatic rescue. Hey, I'm Christine in for Hallie tonight. Former President Trump responding tonight to the Supreme Court saying no thanks to ruling on whether he has broad immunity for things he did to challenge the 2020 election results. Mr. Trump saying that, of course, he's entitled to it. The Supreme Court's rejection means the decision is up to the U.S. Court of Appeals for the District of Columbia, who's going to start hearing oral arguments on that issue next year on January 9th. It's a blow to special counsel Jack Smith. He had asked the justices to sidestep the normal appeals court process and fast-track a ruling on Trump's immunity instead. Smith saying the case presented a fundamental question at the heart of our democracy, whether a former president is absolutely immune from federal prosecution for crimes committed while in office. For the former president, this is big. His lawyers have been trying to delay his criminal trial, where he's facing charges of plotting to overturn the 2020 election. Any significant delays could plunge the trial right into the heart of the 2024 election campaign season, or even push past it. And however this plays out in the longer term, right now, all these legal issues are really just helping the former president in the polls. You can see here in this graphic how his polling has gone up when met with legal problems. We've got Ken Delaney and Danny Cevallos here to break it all down. Ken, so this could very well mean the former president's federal trial could be pushed back. Maybe it's scheduled beyond the March 4th date. Is there anything the special counsel can do to speed the process up now before Election Day?
Not really, Christine. It almost certainly means a delay. But the real question is, how much delay? And it all depends on what the Supreme Court does after the appeals court rules. Now, the appeals court in D.C. has agreed to take this question up on an expedited basis. As you said, they've already scheduled oral arguments for January 9th. They could rule within weeks. That same court has already ruled in a different context, a civil context, that President Trump is not immune for his actions around the January 6th attack. So if that court rules quickly, then the question becomes, what does the Supreme Court do? Do they take it up on an expedited basis? Do they rule quickly? Or do they take it up on their normal schedule? If they take their time and take months, then we're talking about significant delays that could even push this trial past the November election. So this is a blow to special counsel Jack Smith. The question is, how big a blow?
You know, we don't really have an explanation, Ken, as to why they decided to reject the special counsel's request. It's just this one-line order. But at the end of the day, how quickly to the D.C. Circuit will it be before they rule on the question of presidential immunity? Could that get back to the Supreme Court then?
Yeah, most people think absolutely, because it's a novel question, never been decided by the Supreme Court. In fact, in the criminal context, the only ruling we have on it is Judge Tanya Chutkan in this case, the district judge who said that Donald Trump was not immune. So now it goes up to the appeals court, and they will look at this question. They'll look at two questions, really. Was Donald Trump acting as the president when he was trying to overturn the election, calling those local officials, consulting with lawyers over a false slate of electors? Or was he acting as a politician, a candidate, a private citizen? Therefore, the immunity question it's not even an issue. But if they decide he was somehow acting as the president, then they have to decide, can a president be prosecuted for his actions in office? And we're not talking about a drone strike here abroad. We're talking about actions that had to do with Donald Trump trying to stay in office and pressure local officials. So the stakes are very high.
All right, Ken, thank you so much for that. I want to bring in Danny Cevallos now. Danny, on this issue of immunity, the former president responding that it's a given he has immunity. That's not what the Supreme Court is saying here.
Exactly right. I mean, really, this is just about whether or not the normal process is to be followed, which is from district court to Circuit Court of Appeals to the Supreme Court. And instead, what Jack Smith had asked for was an expedited review through certiorari before judgment, which is an extraordinary remedy. So if you're just playing the odds, it was unlikely that the Supreme Court was going to grant this. But on the other hand, it was such an important issue that you could see the Supreme Court saying, oh, this is that extraordinary circumstance. What's interesting to me is everybody's treating this, including the Trump team, like a victory for Trump. It's entirely possible that the Supreme Court, had they taken it up, would have decided immunity in favor of Trump. And that's what's so significant here. It is so important to the Trump team to delay that they didn't even want the chance of getting immunity had the Supreme Court reviewed it. In other words, the chance at immunity is less important to the Trump team than delay. And the reason for that is, and something they can't say in their papers openly, but it's an open secret, is that delay wins the federal cases for Donald Trump. Delay means if he's inaugurated by then and a case is still pending, he can make them go away.
Danny, you also have that recent ruling from Colorado's Supreme Court on keeping the former president off that state's ballot. The Supreme Court hasn't faced, honestly, such a politically fraught season since the 2000 election case, Bush v. Gore, right? The country was very different then, though, than it is now. I mean, talk to me about this moment.
Yes, I mean, this is a case that will also almost certainly end up at the Supreme Court. And this is something, again, if you're playing the odds, keeping the Colorado Supreme Court's decision is like a row of dominoes. They all have to be upright for Trump to remain off the ballot. But if any one of them falls, then Trump is back on the ballot. So the odds, again, are in favor that the Supreme Court will find at least one issue differently than the Colorado Supreme Court. I'll give you an example. The Colorado District Court concluded that Donald Trump engaged in insurrection. However, they also concluded that he was not an officer within the meaning of Section 3 of the 14th Amendment. So that's just an example that any one of those things goes the other way, and Trump remains on the ballot.
Fascinating. All right. Just even saying Bush v. Gore makes me twitch. There's going to be a really big year next year, right? Doesn't it? All right, Danny, thanks so much. Nice to see you. All right, right now, millions of Americans on the roads and in the skies today on one of the busiest travel days of the holiday season. Live on the left, that's LAX airport. More than 2.5 million Americans expected to fly today. And for those driving, you see live on the right, an interstate in Orlando, Florida. Traffic moving. It's moving, but slow. If you plan to hit the roads tomorrow like I am, well, best of luck to all of us, because tomorrow is going to be the worst day to drive, so plan extra time. Same for the airports. As long lines go on and on and on and on to get through security. That there is from Reagan National Airport. Today, though, flights look relatively good. You know, only about 70 cancellations or so and 3,200 delays. And fingers crossed, the weather holds up, because a storm across the Southwest caused some major flooding in California. You can see people here pushing their car through a flooded road. That mixed with mudslides, making some streets impassable. Cars literally stuck in the mud. That's Santa Barbara there again. Wow. Now around 25 million people are under flood alerts as the storm moves further into the country. We have team coverage. Kathy Park at Atlanta International Airport, Shaquille Brewster at a rest stop in the Chicago area, and meteorologist Bill Cairns. But Shaq, let me start with you. You're there in Chicago. What are you hearing from people on the road today, and when's the best time to leave?
Well, Christine, I'm almost scared to answer that question because you mentioned that you'll be on the roads tomorrow, and AAA is saying tomorrow is the worst day to leave. If you are traveling tomorrow, they say stay off the roads between 11 a.m. and 7 p.m. in order to avoid what they expect to be peak congestion. So either start that trip early or wait until the evening until you make your way out this way. But AAA is saying and projecting over the course of the holiday season, they're expecting about 104 million Americans to hit the road. While that is not a record number, it's pretty close, and it's close to that pre-pandemic number. It's inching closer toward that pre-pandemic number. I talked to some of the drivers who are hitting the road today. I want you to listen to a little bit of what they told me. What are you expecting?
Just everyone raring down the road trying to get to their family and hopefully paying attention while doing so.
Roads are okay, not that much crowded. Pretty good. It would be I hope it would be a smooth drive.
So good reports right now from what folks are saying, but you see traffic behind me is slow. One good one bright spot here are the gas prices. Gas prices are about the same as they were last year, but they're significantly lower than what we saw earlier this year. So that usually draws people on the roads a little bit more. Bottom line, when you drive this way, make sure you take it safe and enjoy your time there.
Right. Oh, no, we'll be patient, I promise. Shaq, nice to see you. Thank you so much. Yes. All right, now let's go to Kathy Park at Atlanta International Airport. Atlanta, the busiest airport in the world normally. How are people managing the crowds?
Hey, Christine, good to be with you tonight. Happy holidays. So today is actually the busiest holiday travel day here in ATL. Airport officials tell us they anticipate screening roughly 86,000 passengers today alone. And yeah, it certainly has been busy ever since we got here at 6 o'clock this morning, but I can tell you that it has been pretty manageable. The airport staff, airline staff, they've done a really good job just kind of managing the foot traffic here on the ground. The security checkpoint times have varied throughout the day, but they were anywhere between 5 minutes to 20 minutes. And nationwide, the TSA says that they will actually be screening roughly 2.5 million passengers daily from now until January 2nd. But back here in Atlanta, we were actually talking to some folks earlier in the day about their game plan for their travels. Take a listen.
We got here early because my cousin told us it was like 3.5 hours. We haven't really traveled during the holidays, so I just wanted to be prepared. It's nice because I'm here early, and so no problem. Pulled up and got out of the car, and no problem.
And Christine, let's take a quick peek at the misery map right now, because the numbers have ticked up throughout the course of the day. Right now, the delays are roughly around 535, 8 cancellations. A lot of the problems right now are centered at LAX, Phoenix, Denver, and San Francisco. So a lot of issues right now on the West Coast. But if you do plan on heading out over the next couple of days, if you do plan on traveling, you do want to arrive at the airport at least 2 hours in advance, especially if you're flying domestically, 3 hours internationally. Also, important to just download the airline app, because you can save a whole lot of time if there are any changes, cancellations, or delays. You can do that right on your phone. Christine?
All right. Thank you so much, Kathy. Thanks. A lot of action, a lot of movement over the next day or two. Yeah, get that TSA app, too. That's really helpful. All right, meteorologist Bill Caron's up next. Is the weather going to cooperate this weekend?
Not everywhere. We saw where Shaq is, just some light rain through the Midwest. I think if the worst weather in the entire country right now, this doesn't happen that often. It's actually in Tucson, Arizona. It's pouring. We've had about an inch of rain. And if you know anything about the Tucson area with the desert area, you get, the water quickly builds up and it heads into a lot of the dry washes, they call them, and they become rivers. And so that's probably happening now. So we get to watch that. Also, thunderstorms outside of Yuma. Los Angeles, the weather is improving, and hopefully the airports will be getting a little better. We're going to drop these flood watches in the next 2 hours, and we do have 2 flash flood warnings in the desert areas just as you cross the border from California into Arizona, and this will be possible throughout the next 24 hours. So that's really where all of our weather concerns are. It's going to be more in the Arizona, shifting northwards. Four Corner region, we will get a little bit of snow. Areas around Durango, heading to Telluride, San Juan Mountains. We will get some snow in the Colorado Rockies. Not a lot, but just a little coating would be nice. Denver, it looks like Saturday, you go from rain to snow Saturday night. 2 to 4 inches is possible right now. So, maybe that'll hold up and you'll have that official white Christmas. Then on Christmas Eve, we're going to watch some of that snow out here into the Dakotas. So as far as who has the best shot of a white Christmas, it will definitely be here in the middle of the country and our friends in Wyoming and also Colorado. This storm system, especially, this is going to be on Christmas Eve. If we're going to get heavy snow out of this, it'll be central portions of Nebraska and also in South Dakota. Omaha to Sioux Falls, Sioux City, kind of questionable right now, but it's possible on Christmas Day you will go from rain over to snow, maybe even a heavy, wet snow, too. So not all of us are going to be disappointed on Christmas. This is our map with our best shot of seeing a white Christmas. Our friends in Valentine, Nebraska. Kids may be happy.
Yeah, maybe. All right. Nice to see you, Bill Cairns. Thank you, Bill. All right, the United Nations Security Council just passed a long-delayed vote urging for desperately needed aid to get into Gaza as the situation there grows more dire. 90% of the people eating less than 1 meal a day and many going without any drinkable water. Listen.
There is, a personal catastrophe and there's a collective catastrophe here in Gaza. You have a population that they lost everything.
Right now, it's not clear when or even if conditions will change as any actual deal to get a ceasefire in Gaza and more hostages released appears out of reach tonight, with Hamas reportedly rejecting a proposed truce from Israel that would have secured the release of 40 hostages in exchange for a 1-week pause in fighting, indicating they won't engage in any more negotiations until Israel pauses its attacks. Let's bring in Josh Letterman in Tel Aviv for us tonight. Josh, there was language left out of the UN resolution on a ceasefire, right? Walk us through it.
Right. So many of these countries wanted to see language calling for an immediate cessation of hostilities, an immediate ceasefire. That was really the sticking point for many days as this resolution was delayed, because Israel said they didn't want to see that, and the U.S. Had been threatening to veto this resolution if it called for stopping fighting now, because they feel that would undermine Israel's national security need and self-defense need to eliminate Hamas. And so what they settled on was some language that instead calls for laying the groundwork for conditions that will ultimately lead to a cessation of hostilities. So essentially putting that on the map as a target, but kicking it a bit down the road, while also creating some new potential authorities for the UN to oversee that critical humanitarian aid into the Gaza Strip. The U.S. ambassador to the UN, Linda Thomas-Greenfield, saying it's not perfect, but that this was a major win for diplomacy. Watch.
Lots of phone calls, lots of text messages. My fingertips are tender from texting over the course of these few days. And as I always say, diplomacy is hard, but when you get the results are worth every minute of the hard work.
Now, Israel is criticizing this resolution as despicable because it does not specifically condemn Hamas for the terror attacks of October 7th. That is a concern shared by the U.S. and appears to be the reason that the U.S. actually didn't vote for this resolution. They abstained, but abstaining, basically not vetoing it, was enough to allow this resolution to go forward and to succeed, Christine.
And Josh, what could come next in Gaza, as any truce deal still seems pretty elusive tonight?
It does seem elusive. We know that there are negotiations underway for release of more hostages and potentially in exchange for a temporary halt in Israel's attacks in the Gaza Strip. But right now, that appears to be fairly stuck in place. The Israeli military, meanwhile, they say they are expanding operations in southern Gaza, especially in the Khan Yunis area in southern Gaza, while beginning to wrap up their larger scale operations in northern Gaza. And so that may be one sign that they are bowing to some of that U.S. pressure. The Biden administration has been pushing Israel to wrap up its kind of large-scale part of this war and move into a more targeted, narrowly focused operation to take out those senior Hamas leaders without these large attacks that have the effect of killing so many Palestinian civilians.
All right, Josh Letterman, thank you so much for that from Tel Aviv tonight. All right, a fresh batch of economic numbers today showing prices dropping. Let me say that again. Prices dropping for the first time since April 2020, a sign the Fed might be winning its fight against inflation. So it's called the Personal Consumption Expenditures Price Index, or PCE for short. It's a major reading on inflation, and it dropped slightly, 0.1% last month. But this little tiny drop is very big news because it brings the annual inflation rate closer to the Fed's goal of 2%. And it means the economy is heading into next year on strong footing. Brian Chung is joining us now with more. Walk us through where we're seeing prices fall.
Yeah, well, this report showed it was broad-based. So we saw it in goods, both durable and non-durable. We also saw it in food, even going down 0.1% during the month. But energy was the big contributor. Prices at the pump falling between October and November was a big factor here. But I just kind of want to take a step back and just acknowledge that we don't want negative prints every month. Right? We don't want deflation. What we want inflation to do is trying to go sideways and go down. Disinflation is the terminology there. So either way you cut or a slice it, this is certainly encouraging news for the Federal Reserve, which has been trying to get inflation down, but not yet mission accomplished. Yeah, not mission accomplished. But the Fed has, without saying it, the Fed chief recently basically laid out all of the ingredients for a so-called soft landing. That means, you know, we come off this high inflation period, this strong economy in a good way, not a crash or a recession. So I guess this number fits into that picture as just one more piece of evidence. Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, look, we're at the end of the year. So if we kind of audit over 2023, we're not in a recession right now. We managed to get inflation down from about 9% peak last year to around 3% as of now, without a substantial rise in unemployment. So things still look good, but the question is whether or not we will continue to be out of the woods into the early innings of 2024. So for the Federal Reserve, they've been pausing on interest rate hikes since July. Can they start to cut interest rates? It depends on whether or not that last mile, getting from 3% to 2%, is in view. So not in a recession, not even close to anything that looks even remotely like a recession. And here's been the riddle of 2023, right? That we, people like you and I, talk about how the economy is resilient, it's strong, the unemployment rate is low, and people don't feel it at home. And I asked Neela Richardson, like, what is this disconnect? She's you know who she is. She's an economist at ADP. What is the disconnect between how people feel and what the economic numbers are saying?
A lot of it is inflation. A lot of it is just uncertainty about this economy. Remember, you know, people don't have short memories. They remember losing their jobs in 2020. They remember how hard it was to find new ground. And I think a lot of the disconnect here between the consumer and the economy has to do with demographics.
She went on to say demographics, especially young people who are facing really high inflation and a housing market, frankly, that is really unaffordable at the moment. So they're not getting their first foot into sort of like building into the middle class. And that's a problem. Yeah, and for young people, I mean, if we're talking about millennials as well, right? They went through 2008, then they went through the pandemic, and then they went through the economic concerns over the last 3 years. It's been very weird, and it's in a condensed amount of time. So you can't blame them for feeling that way. But I think the big story here is that the picture is starting to turn. Consumer sentiment readings are changing. We've seen the University of Michigan and the Conference Board both show improvements as of the last update. And
we also know that real wages are outpacing inflation right now. So that could be an impact.
Another thing that I think is interesting, and this has been true all year, people will say they feel lousy about the economy, and then you ask them about their personal finances, like, well, oh yeah, no, I'm fine. You know, so there's a mood issue.
But my neighbor's not, or
exactly.
Right?
There's just a middle class malaise that's like hard to pinpoint. Brian Chung, nice to see you. Thank you so much. But people are still spending, by the way. They say they feel lousy about the economy, but they're still spending. And if you haven't finished your Christmas shopping, don't worry. You've got about 2 days left for retail therapy. Just be ready to fight some crowds, because the National Retail Federation says nearly 142 million people plan to shop tomorrow, the last Saturday before Christmas. It's what retailers call Super Saturday. 37% of shoppers say they'll go to stores tomorrow. 22% say they'll shop exclusively online. 41% say they'll do both. Someone who is contributing to the economy there in Florida, Marissa Parra, is joining us now. What's it like out at the mall? How are the crowds, the lines, the moods?
Hey, Christine. I mean, since the last hour that I spoke to you, I can tell you it is still just as busy. The only difference is now the sun has set. So you can perhaps make out the shadows of people milling around behind me here as they're still getting their shopping done, their holiday shopping done. And since I've been here for most of the day, I've witnessed more than a few very happy occasions of people finding that perfect gift. And if you are among those looking to do so, whether it's today or tomorrow, you are not alone. In fact, surveys show roughly 50% of people wait until the month of December to do their December holiday shopping. And here was where it got kind of interesting. I was a little surprised myself. When you look at the statistics of people who match that, over 50% of the people doing their shopping in December prefer to do it at the brick and mortar stores, at the retail shops, in person. And guess who takes the title for that? That's Gen Z. So we talked to a shopping expert because we found that surprising. We wanted to know why we were seeing this trend. And they said, the shopping expert, which you're about to hear in just a moment, it's because this is a generation that just wants a break from the virtual stuff. Take a listen.
Younger consumers often want experiences versus things. You know, a lot of younger consumers are still living at home. They don't have room for all sorts of stuff. And so they want to do things with their friends and family. They want to spend time. They want to take pictures and note those moments.
So, Christine, you mentioned Super Saturday. That is tomorrow. So if you haven't done your holiday shopping yet, then bring your helmet, your shin guards, your elbow guards, whatever you need to protect yourself in those crowds, because you will not be alone.
I love the Gen Z addicted to TikTok wants to go out to an actual store to get away from the virtual experience.
Good for them.
Right? Talk to me about what the deals could be for tomorrow. Are there still good deals out there?
If you're looking for a deal, maybe look for toys, appliances, electronics. But listen, it's so late in the game. I'm going to be very honest with you. At this point, you're just looking to get your stuff in, right? You're just looking to get that perfect present. I can't promise you it's going to be at its cheapest. But here's a couple of tips that we compiled for you. Consider shopping secondhand. Consider virtual gifts like subscriptions, because you know those are going to get used. And then, of course, in-stock options, free rush shipping. But here's the one I just learned about. Uber now has a same-day store pickup feature available, but it's not in every city, Christine, just in some of them. And so that is something to remember. And you had asked me if I was going to get any shopping done. Well, Christine, my update for you is that I did get something. It was food, and that's to feed myself for my shopping that I'll do after this hit.
Good. I wonder if you can expense that, since you are working. I would try to.
We'll find out.
We'll find out. All right. Nice to see you, Marissa Parra. Thank you so much. President Biden today announcing he'll pardon thousands for certain marijuana offenses. He's building on something he did last year, forgiving some people convicted of federal offenses for simple marijuana possession. He's also giving 11 other people clemency for nonviolent drug offenses, which basically means their sentences will be shortened. You'll remember he campaigned on a promise to do just this as part of an effort to fix the racial disparities in the justice system. The president, in a statement, saying too many lives have been upended because of our failed approach to marijuana. Under federal law, marijuana is still a controlled substance, but a lot of states have already decriminalized or legalized it. The ones you see here on this map in green allow for the recreational and medical use of marijuana. Monica Alba joins me right now. Monica, so nice to see you. A growing majority of Americans support the legalization of marijuana at the federal level. And in the president's statement, he mentions this failed approach to marijuana. What is the administration doing to address marijuana laws before more people face similar convictions?
Yeah, Christine, it's something like 70% of Americans would support that. And this is something that has been steadily climbing and something that clearly candidate Joe Biden pledged to do more on. And that is why you are seeing him now as president take these steps. There was this proclamation that the White House issued in 2022 that sort of set the scene for how this would work. But it was very limited in terms of some of the offenses that could be pardoned and considered here. Now, what he's announcing today really broadens that, and it really expands that to these crimes or offenses that take place on federal lands, in the District of Columbia, for instance, with the promise to potentially do more, and this call to really urge governors in states to really do the same thing, because the president can't do this everywhere the way that other states can take it into their own hands to do. It's clearly going to be something that the Biden re-election campaign looks to in terms of potentially energizing young voters in the months ahead. Christine.
All right, Monica, thank you so much from the White House tonight. Also tonight, the FDA saying it has seized thousands of units of counterfeit Ozempic, the diabetes drug widely used for weight loss. But get this, it's not like it's being sold underground on the black market. The FDA says these fakes were distributed through legitimate drug supply sources. And the FDA says that 5 illnesses have been linked to the fake shots they seized. Maura Barrett joins me now. These weight loss drugs turning out to be big cash cows, so I guess it's not surprising that we're seeing fake versions coming out. But they come with such a high price tag that they're out of reach for most folks. Is that what the push is for these fake versions?
That's what it seems like, Christine. I spoke with a doctor today who was really surprised and concerned by how quickly these counterfeits are coming onto the market. But as you mentioned, they're extremely expensive. If you take a look at some of the price tags on these FDA-approved drugs, whether it's Ozempic or Wegovy, you're running close to the $1,000 price tag mark. And so the doctor that I spoke to, Dr. Barry Weinstein, she said that basically until insurance providers cover this at a more fair rate, until more drug companies are FDA approved for the semaglutide, which is what the main ingredient in these drugs, they're not going. We likely won't see a reduction in whether it's these counterfeit drugs coming onto the market, or a lot of patients have been turning to different types of pharmacies that aren't FDA approved to get compound versions, which doctors say can be dangerous as well. Christine.
Yeah. What have the FDA drug makers said about the potential dangers here?
Well, we know that the FDA is testing the units of the product that they seized. They said they seized thousands of units that were in the legitimate drug supply chain, as you mentioned, which is the more concerning factor of all of this, I think. But basically, they're testing it. They don't know what's in the drug or the safety necessarily. But obviously, there are serious concerns if people are taking something, A, unknowingly, but also that isn't the drug that they thought that they were purchasing, if it's not that exact recipe. Luckily, right now, in terms of the illnesses that have been reported, the adverse reactions, just 5 of them reported to the FDA, are kind of consistent with the typical side effects of the authorized drug. So nausea, vomiting, kind of along those lines. But basically, the FDA says to check their warning that they sent out if you're someone that's picking up something like Ozempic, to check the serial number and the lot in the FDA warning that they sent out broadly, and to turn that in and to report it to their criminal office within the FDA, Christine.
Yeah, there's a weight loss gold rush going on. And whenever there's a gold rush, there are always those folks who are trying to make a buck illegally. Maura Barrett, thank you so much. Nice to see you. All right, coming up, off the mark, colleges across the U.S. pulling the plug on one AI detection tool. We'll tell you why. Plus, a rough ride on the high seas. What happened when these wild waves knocked a cruise ship off course? That's in the 5 things. Just in the last few hours, a man finally pulled to safety after an incredible 18-hour rescue mission. They got him out of a 12-inch wide tunnel under massive rocks along a beach in San Diego. You take a look at this. You can see the rescue crews there on those cliffs above the crashing waves, pulling the man out. Authorities confirming he was conscious throughout the rescue. They say he told them he'd been screaming for help for days. Let's bring in Steve Patterson now. Steve, bring us up to speed on this. What are the rescue teams saying tonight about what happened here, and what made this rescue operation so challenging?
Christine, this might be one of those,
things that happens to where you might want to ask, what wasn't challenging about this? I mean, this is one of the few times a year that California gets this amount of rain and a storm system that moved through. So they're dealing with the storm surge during this 18 to 20-hour rescue operation. Is blind, right on the face of a cliffside underneath concrete. So they need to drill him out. So they're waiting for the storm surge to go down. They have to go in. Some rescue workers even have to go upside down to tunnel in so they can drill around his legs, trying to get him out, of course, without hurting him. This whole thing happens after he falls 15 feet. He's stuck there maybe 3 days. He's got no food. He's got no water. He's trying to communicate. And finally, some people just on the beach stumble upon him. Here's what rescue workers say they stumbled upon when they found him. Listen to this.
This gentleman's trapped in a very narrow space, about 12 inches wide, between a seawall and the cliff, a piece that's eroded and created this tunnel all the way down. So he's fallen feet first down in there. He was trapped up to his waist in debris and rocks.
Good news, he's communicating the entire time that he's trapped, according to rescue workers. They're in full communication, and even when he gets pulled out, he's able to speak. So hopefully he's okay.
Unbelievable. So do we know how he got stuck there in the first place, and then how long he was there before people on the beach spotted him?
We can only know what he told the people that found him, which is that he said he was literally screaming for somebody to come and save him for upwards of 3 days. Stuck there for that long. We don't really know how he wound up sliding 15 feet off a ravine into that hole, but we know that he landed feet first. We actually heard from the people that stumbled upon him on the beach. Here's what they said. Listen to this.
We were kind of walking down that path just to see how far it goes. And our friend Diego was asked, our friend Justin was walking by, and then our friend Diego was like, "You guys hear that?" And turns out there was a guy screaming for help, for 12 feet under us.
Mm-hmm. I mean, we look around to see if somebody's around us. We're looking up to the side. We never thought there'd be somebody below us.
Just unbelievable. Neighbors are calling it a Christmas miracle. There was a doctor on scene who said his organs were never, at risk of failure. He was never at risk of compression. So he should be, all things considered, getting away with this with some just minor injuries. Christine?
Wow, that is quite a story. All right, Steve Patterson, thank you so much. Let's get you over to the 5 things our team thinks you should know about tonight. Number 1, a growing memorial in Prague after the shocking shooting that left 14 people dead. Police releasing body cam video showing officers searching the campus of Charles University for the shooter. Authorities have edited the video to blur some parts of it. We're told the shooter was a student. His body was found with multiple firearms and a large amount of ammunition on him. A motive for the attack is still unclear. Number 2, new video out of Lewiston, Maine, revealing that police were worried about the man who killed 18 people earlier this year. Police body cam footage includes officers saying that confronting him wasn't safe. Robert Card is blamed for the deadliest mass shooting in Maine's history. Number 3, scary moments on a Norwegian cruise ship. Intense waves rocking it so hard it caused a full loss of power in the North Sea. The crew had to navigate manually through emergency systems. All 400 people on board are expected to be okay. Number 4, Tesla recalling over 120,000 of its vehicles in the U.S. over risks of doors unlocking and opening during a crash. Affected vehicles include Model S and Model X vehicles for model years 2021 to 2023. Tesla has said it wasn't aware of any injuries as a result of this issue. Number 5, the CDC saying today that flu activity is, quote, elevated and continues to grow in most parts of the U.S. Almost 10,000 patients were admitted to the hospital for the flu in just the last week, and the CDC estimates that there's been over 5 million total flu cases this season alone. But universities across the country are pulling the plug on using an AI tool on the popular plagiarism detection software Turnitin. It's used by many schools and colleges to basically be able to see if a student's essay is taken from another piece of work. Now that AI software like, ChatGPT can literally write an essay for you, the platform earlier this year added a new tool to detect if AI was used. But now several schools, some of which you see here, they have disabled the tool, claiming that it produces a higher false positivity rate, disproportionately hurting people who didn't learn English as their first language. I want to bring in NBC's tech correspondent, Jacob Ward. So great to see you tonight. This is almost, Jake, starting to sound like maybe we can't keep up with AI. You spoke with the people behind this back when it was starting to get launched. Is this something they were prepared for?
You know, back then, Christine, we were all just scrambling to figure out what ChatGPT was going to mean. And for Turnitin, which has become this standard issue piece of software that basically any university paper goes through when you turn it in, was seeking to catch up with AI. So we spoke to the creators of Turnitin about how they were going to deal with AI writing. And here's how they described it.
When you look at AI, because it's picking the most likely words in a sequence, that leaves a pretty distinct statistical signature. I think the level of sophistication in the writing is definitely going to increase. We think that our ability to keep up with understanding the signals in AI writing, we're very confident in our ability.
Now, they are, of course, scrambling to catch up, but as you pointed out, there are several schools, including New York University, University of Alabama, Oregon State University, have all asked to turn off that AI feature, and that's because the statistics that they are finding on false positives are really not acceptable. We're finding that as much as 1% false positive rate for over 20% AI writing, basically falsely accusing students of doing it. In one case, NYU said that it amounted to basically 1 in 25 students being hit with a charge of plagiarism or using AI when in fact they had not. And that, of course, you know, is the thing that everyone is scrambling to deal with here. Now, I will say Turnitin, when we reached out to them, says that they are in fact working to constantly evolve. They say that at this point, more than 90% of their customers are still using that AI feature. But I mean, all of this is not to beat up on Turnitin, right? It is all about, Christine, this moment we are in which ChatGPT has exploded the processes and the expectations when it comes to education in the United States.
Totally. Okay, now what about the claim that these false positives are seen more in people who are learning English or English isn't their original language? Why, I guess, would that happen?
Well, you know, it has to do, right, with the ways in which a piece of software detects the statistical anomalies in writing, right, overall, and how someone who did not maybe grow up speaking English as their first language might express themselves in writing, you know, can throw that off. Now, Turnitin says that they have not detected themselves any sort of statistically significant number of people who are being spiked in that way, but when we have reached out to universities, they say that they are noticing that is a pattern there. And so, again, it's just this thing in which we don't know quite how to deal with the arrival of AI across college campuses or who it might go on to affect as it becomes more sophisticated, Christine.
Yeah, Wild West, whole new frontier, all kinds of metaphors and bad cliches I could use. Jake, nice to see you. Thank you so much. Right, still ahead, a chance to get up close and personal with ancient history, but it's going to cost you. That's in the global. Plus, African ports, overwhelmed and ill-equipped, will go inside the unfolding supply chain crisis tied to tensions in the Middle East. NBC covers hundreds of international stories each day. And of course, because it's tough to read, watch, or listen to all of them, our international teams have done it for you. Here are some things they're keeping an eye on in a segment we call The Global. From France, a story that gives air sickness a whole new meaning. The BBC reporting that more than 700 Airbus Atlantic staff members got sick from the company's Christmas dinner. Health officials are calling it a mass food poisoning. The company has not responded to BBC's request for comment. From Cuba, the island's National Assembly just authorized euthanasia. It's now the second country to do so across Latin America and the Caribbean. The legislation reads, quote, the rights of a people to a dignified death is recognized in end-of-life decisions, which may include valid procedures to end life. And from Greece, starting in April, you can sign up to get an exclusive and close-up look at the ancient Acropolis. Tours will be offered before the site opens and after it closes to the public each day. Officials say it'll be available for a maximum of 4 groups of up to 5 people each. The cost, $5,000 per group. Right, we're just hearing from the White House now alleging Iran is deeply involved in the Houthi rebels' attacks on cargo ships in the Red Sea. That's according to a national security spokesperson. The comments come as another supply chain crisis could be developing because of that chaos in the Red Sea. It's forcing global shipping companies and major retail brands to reroute their cargo extremely long distances. The price of oil just starting to tick up again, and it could soon hit other American industries, too.
This video shows Yemen's Houthi rebels taking control of cargo ships. The Houthis provided the video and blurred faces, and it all demonstrates how they're disrupting one of the world's busiest shipping lanes in the Red Sea, where thousands of massive cargo ships travel through every year. Signs of a possible regional escalation of the Israel-Hamas conflict, also now affecting the global supply chain. A number of the world's biggest oil and cargo shippers have rerouted hundreds of ships to avoid the violence. The White House saying Friday it's monitoring the situation closely. Instead of a direct route from East Asia to ports in Europe, ships are instead going around the southern tip of Africa, estimated to be an extra 10 to 14 days of travel to avoid the attacks. Ill-equipped ports in Africa already becoming overwhelmed with massive cargo ships stopping along the long route. This according to a Reuters report citing shipping companies and analysts. Maersk, one of the largest shipping companies in the world, telling Reuters its vessels will try to gas up at origins or destinations in Europe or Asia to avoid adding more chaos. And brands like the planet's largest furniture store, IKEA, are warning about delays. Resurgent retailer Abercrombie & Fitch will move some shipping to air, according to an email to suppliers Bloomberg reviewed and reported. NBC has not seen the email, and Abercrombie did not respond to our request for comment. The attacks already leading to a 5% increase in the cost of shipping a container from Asia to the east coast of the U.S. since October 7th, according to logistics company Freightos. And everyone is keeping a close eye on gas prices, just starting to tick back up, as oil giant BP also diverting shipments.
All countries have the right to move freely and lawfully in international waters.
To try to prevent more disruptions, a new international force dubbed Operation Prosperity Guardian, led by the U.S., is shooting down drones and defending cargo ships.
It will be damaging to Britain, damaging to the whole world if there are these repeated attacks on shipping.
The Houthi militant group has backed Hamas since the start of the war with Israel. And for now, with attacks in the Red Sea raging on, questions swirl on just how much the violence in the Red Sea could create more ripple effects around the world.
The National Economic Council Director Lael Brainerd today saying they're monitoring this situation closely, but not expecting the attacks to have a big effect on holiday prices. Of course, that's right around the corner, and those products are already in the U.S. But it is definitely something we'll all be watching closely heading into the new year. Coming up, putting on the squeeze, why orange juice prices are sky high no matter where you go in the U.S. The factors adding to your pain over pulp. That's tonight's original. All right, now we want to bring you today's original with in-depth reporting on a topic we've been keeping an eye on. Orange juice prices are high, and they're not expected to get much better anytime soon. That's because crops in Florida, the largest orange producer in the U.S., have been hammered by bad weather and citrus crop disease, forcing the price of orange juice to record highs this year. So we spoke to some orange farmers in Florida about the biggest issues squeezing their industry. Sam Brock has the story.
There's nothing better than a freshly squeezed glass of OJ, but it's been pretty pricey to get your hands on America's favorite juice.
I would say nationwide the consumer should be concerned.
The cost of orange juice in the U.S. skyrocketing this year to more than $4 a pound. And while the futures price has come back a little bit, it's still historically high. All of it thanks to Mother Nature. This year's orange crop got hammered by a combination of both disease and bad weather.
Tonight, Florida has been rocked back on its heels.
Towards the end of 2022, Hurricane Ian and Hurricane Nicole ran roughshod through Florida, critical farms flooding and oranges dropping from trees.
Why is your orange juice so expensive? Because we are running out with our #1 quality fruit.
Robert and Lisa Marie Roth own Bob Roth's New River Groves. It's a major citrus grove in Florida that's been squeezing out oranges since 1964. They say their farm is dealing with another sticky situation, the incurable infection of citrus greening, spreading rapidly across the orange crop.
The greening will destroy the fruit, destroy the trees. You can't sell the fruit. If they don't find satisfactory remedies to all these diseases, it could possibly go under completely.
Their once flourishing farm has taken a major blow. They say that they've lost about 50% of their orange groves in just the last 15 years.
I've kind of adjusted to the fact that it's going downhill and it's going out.
The business now forced to shift gears, focusing on agritourism and planting things like mango trees. And they're hardly alone. Florida as a whole took a major hit as the biggest supplier of oranges in the country. The forecast for orange production in the state this season more than halved from just 2 seasons ago. That according to the USDA. And the bottom line, that could mean orange juice will continue to squeeze your wallet.
Every time there's something else that happens in the state of Florida, the prices go up because there's less fruit.
But Lisa Marie trying to see the bright side.
You never know what's going to happen. I'd like to be optimistic about it, that we will get a change in the fruit and that we will have citrus to ship all over the country for our customers.
Sam Brock, NBC News.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or follow us on social media.